This is Mr. Martin. These are video notes for solving rational functions, solving rational equations. So we're going to start with a little warm-up here because the skills that we learned in the previous sections of the unit we're going to need to use when we're solving rational functions. So we're going to simplify this expression, and we know that we're going to need a common denominator. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to factor everything that I can. So this, and I'm going to factor an x out of these. So I've got x times x minus 2, and then plus x plus 2 over x squared, nothing to factor there, minus 8 over, and then each of these terms has an x squared in it, so I'm going to factor that out, x squared times x minus 2. Okay, so I can see that my common denominator is going to be x squared times x minus 2, because that's got one of everything in all the denominators. So I'm going to go ahead and make common denominators. So for my first fraction, I need to multiply by x over x, so that's x times x minus 2 times x over x, and then plus x plus 2 over x squared, and this needs the x minus 2, so x minus 2 over x minus 2, and then my last fraction, it's got everything that it needs, so that's over 8 times x squared times x minus 2. Alright, and then we'll go ahead and do a little simplifying. I'm going to distribute over here. So I'm going to have 6x minus x squared, and then that's all going to be over my common denominator, which is x squared times x minus 2. And then plus, I need to FOIL this out on the top, so that's x squared minus 2x plus 2x, and then minus 4, so just FOILing out the numerator there. And that's all going to be over my common denominator, x squared times x minus 2, and then minus 8 over x squared times x minus 2. Alright, so I've simplified my numerators, and I have a common denominator, so I just need to do a little simplifying. I did notice over here that I have minus 2x and plus 2x, so those cancel out. So I've got, and then I have a minus x squared here and a plus x squared there, so those are going to cancel out. And let's see what I'm left with. I'm left with a 6x and minus 4 and minus 8, so that's going to be minus 12. And that's all over my common denominator of x squared times x minus 2. So let's factor that numerator and see what happens. We've got 6 times x minus 2 over x squared times x minus 2. And these x minus 2's are going to cancel now. And I'm just left with 6 over x squared. So that's a little refresher for us, finding common denominators to add and subtract. So let's move on to this first example here. So our learning target, I can simplify and solve rational expressions and functions. Okay, so first thing I want to do here is just change this to multiplication. That should be 8x. There's an extra equal sign there that shouldn't be there. And I'm also going to, I've got x minus 3 here and I have 3 minus x there, and I know that those are opposites. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a negative out of the bottom. So I have 8x minus 1, and then I'm going to flip this around to make it x minus 3. Okay, so if you want to see how that works, if I have 3 minus x and I factor out a negative 1, then I would have negative 3 plus x, which I could simply write as negative x minus 3. So that's all I did over here. I just, instead of having the negative in the front, I just moved it into the, in the front of my denominator, I moved it to the front of the fraction. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this, and then I'm going to work with this over here. Okay, so I'm going to move this fraction over to the other side, so that, actually I'm just going to leave that there, sorry. In order to combine these over here, I need a common denominator. X minus 3 is my common denominator, and then you'll see why I leave this over here in a minute. So I need to multiply this x, which is really x over 1, times x minus 3 over x minus 3, and then I have minus 2 over x minus 3. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this negative up into the numerator. So then it's going to become negative 8x plus 1 over x minus 3. I know I say this all the time. It's really important that you pause the video and write down some questions if you have them, and make sure you ask me when you see me. Okay, so on the top here I'm going to have x squared minus 3x, and then minus 2. I'm just going to combine these in one step, over x minus 3, and that's going to be negative 8x plus 1 over x minus 3. So what we've got here is we have two fractions and the denominators are the same. So in order for these to be equal, that means that the numerators also have to be equal. So now I'm going to simplify my expression here and just set the numerators equal to each other. So I have x squared minus 3x minus 2 is equal to negative 8x plus 1. Since I have a quadratic, I'm going to bring everything over to the left and set it equal to 0. So I've got x squared. I'm going to add 8x, so plus 8x here is going to be plus 5x. I'm going to subtract 1, so negative 2 minus 1 is minus 3. Set that equal to 0. Now at this point, most of the time what you're going to do is you're going to factor this to find the solutions. But this case, this does not factor. This does not factor. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use the quadratic formula. Okay, so let's go over here. Let's use the quadratic formula. I've got x is equal to the opposite of b, so that's negative 5 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's 25, 5 times 5, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 3, all over 2a. Alright, so that gives me negative 5 plus or minus the square root of, that's 25 plus 12, so that's 37. That's not a perfect square, but it is real. So these are my two solutions. These are the two solutions. Alright, so basically this is going to be my answer here. And then what we need to do next, you see up here it said check for extraneous solutions. When we talk about extraneous solutions, these are solutions that would make the denominator 0, because we can't have 0 in the denominator. So normally, again, what we would do is we would take these values and make sure that they don't make the denominator 0. Obviously, this does not equal 3, so it's not going to make our denominator 0. So there are no extraneous solutions. Okay, so we kind of started off with a little bit more difficult problem. Again, just to reiterate, once we get to this step, normally we're going to factor and we'll solve it that way. And once we factor, we'll check those values to make sure they don't make the denominator 0. If it does, we would just label those solutions as extraneous. So as you work through the practice makes permanent, there there's a video for number 2 if you need some help, so you can go through that video. And there's also a video for number 5. So again, if you have any questions, make sure you write those down and ask me when you see me, and we'll see you next time.